Hello, everyone. Today, I want to talk about something that has been very relevant within my own business, as well as something that I've written about in the past. I have a blog post all about it, and if you'd like to read the blog post, you can either drop a comment and I will send you a link to it, or if you wanted to go to my website, you can read it there at cleardirectionadvisors.com. It is talking about the difference between coaches and consultants and strategists. And the reason why this has really been on my mind lately has been partially because of my own journey, where if you've been following anything that's been happening in my business, I've recently gone through a rebrand. I went to a phenomenal rebrand strategist who worked with me and helped come up with and create for me, all my visuals, a simplified messaging, really making my brand cohesive and really making my brand something that I'm proud of. Now, I had some of the pieces already, right? Some of the stuff that we talked about was really simple, really easy because I knew, my ideal clients, I knew where they were. I knew like colors I didn't like and that sort of thing. But what she came up with visually blew me away, right? It fits so well. Now, I had input into that, right? And so, not my rebrand is not the reason for this video today, but it is the difference between a coach and a strategist. So, and of course, when you're going for visuals and marketing and those sorts of concrete things, you're going to go to a strategist, um, or somebody who specializes in that. And that is the point of this today. It's looking at when you are looking for where you need help in your business. Are you going to go to a coach, or are you going to go to a consultant, consultant or strategist? And they do very different things, yet there are connections. I'm not going to say there aren't. So it's that whole thing of you as a business owner knowing where you need help in your business. Because I'm not talking about life coaches or anything like that. I'm talking about on the business end of things because that's what my business is helping business owners. But you could go find a business coach, right? Or you could find a consultant or strategist. The very, very first thing that you need to know is what you need help with. That's going to help direct you. But the other thing that I don't think enough people talk about is how you need that help, right? Coaches are phenomenal. And I'm not saying the right coach at the right time in your business can leapfrog you forward in your business. I've worked with coaches in the past. I have nothing against coaches. I think they're great with the right topics, right? The right thing that they're helping you with, and at the right time of your business. I'm still in contact with the coaches that I've worked with, right? I think that they're fantastic. But a coach is going to be your cheerleader. They're going to be your guide, right? They're going to ask you a lot of questions, and then they're going to help guide you to a solution. They're not necessarily going to give you a solution, right? They're going to help direct you to something that is going to work for you from all of their experiences, because every business owner, that's exactly what you're dealing with, right? Even working with me, right? It's all based on my experiences and my knowledge. But a coach is going to guide you, and they're going to ask you a lot of questions. And how do you feel about that? Does this feel good? Does that feel good? What do you think, right? This is happening. And depending on what they're coaching you on, those questions will be a little bit different, right? A consultant or a strategist, they're also going to ask you a lot of questions, right? That's where some of the similarities come into play. There's always going to be questions no matter who you're working with. But a strategist is going to give you things to do or give you a final outcome. So it they're going to give you a plan, or in the case of my rebranding, right, they've given me my visuals and they've given me my brand guide, right, my brand strategy guide. They've given me something concrete to work with. It's up to me to go and implement that. Whereas the coaches that I've worked with in the past, it's They absolutely give you tools and they give you, things to do and things to think about, but they're guiding you along your path and not necessarily giving you as concrete of solutions. It's something that, again, why I've been thinking about this is as I've had help within my own business over the years, because this has not been just a new thing. It's that I can go and get help from different areas, but do I need somebody who's going to guide me along the path and give me questions to answer and right what feels right? Or do I need somebody who's going to be sitting there and actually giving me solutions, right? Giving me ways to look at data, giving me ways to think about which direction that I should be going, and then helping me determine which is the right direction for me. Now, of course, it all does have to come back to what works for you in your business, because obviously you can't have somebody coming in and telling you you need to do this, but it doesn't align with your vision, right? It doesn't align with your goals. It doesn't feel right to you. So that's when I was doing my rebrand, I had input. There were lots of questions, but and from that, I then got options and we discussed those options. So it wasn't that I had no input into it, but at the end of the day, I got a concrete solution. I have a concrete plan for going forward. So when you're looking for help within your own business, you need to not only understand where you need that help and why you need that help, but you need to understand how you need that help to look. Do you need somebody who's going to guide you, or do you need someone who's going to give you concrete things to do, right? Go and do this. There's always going to be crossover between coaching and consulting and strategist, because as you're working through these questions, because all three of them have questions, there's always going to be certain things that come up, like, does this feel right, right? Does this align with where you're going? That sort of always going to be that. And you should have input into the strategies that are coming out if you're working with a strategist or consultant, right? You should have input into that. They shouldn't be bulldozing you into a solution that you're not comfortable with. But at the same time, they should be giving you concrete steps of things that you need to be doing, right? Giving you a concrete solution of something that going, hey, if you do this and keep at it, right? And then we'll come back, we'll tweak it, we'll look at it, we'll change it. If you're somebody who needs to work whatever it is that you're getting help with through in your own head, right? And you don't necessarily need somebody to give you that action plan, then a coach is probably going to be the best thing for you. They are going to help you with that. Now, if you need somebody who is going to give you a more concrete plan that's going to, right, help you move your business forward and actually give you steps to do, then a consultant or a strategist is going to be your best bet. Now, I know, like I said, there's lots of people who call themselves business coaches because that seems to be the term of the day. And in actual fact, they're more of a consultant or a strategist. And that's fine. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it. But there's also people who call themselves a coach that truly are coaches. And they're not going to give you an action plan, or at least there's not as concrete of an action plan. So when you're looking for help, like I said, in your business, it's what's going to help you get to your end goal. What are you looking for help with? And in right, always, no matter what, when you're looking to hire anybody within your business, whether it's an employee, a contractor, a coach, a strategist, anybody, always talk to them, follow them, see what they talk about, see how they work, right? See how they work, um, see what they actually talk about, because that's going to give you the insight into how they are going to work with you, and also talk to them directly and ask them what it's like to work with them. Because if you don't know that, then you might get into something where it really isn't in alignment with what you need at that time in your business. because there are times in our businesses, because I've worked with coaches, I've worked with consultants and strategists, and I kind of throw the two of them together because the main difference is sort of the length of time that they're working with you, right? Tends to be some of it. There is a time for coaching and there is a time for action. There's a time for the implementation. And I'm not trying to say, because there are lots of coaches who are really good at helping you do that implementation and giving you an action plan, even though they call themselves a coach. But then there's also the people that need something a little bit more direct and who give something a little bit more direct, like consultants and strategists. You need to understand, as somebody looking for help in your business, what's going to work for you. What is it that you need at this moment in your business? Is it somebody who's going to, right, be your guide and be your cheerleader? Or is it someone who's going to give you more of that action plan? And again, the terminology of what someone calls themselves may or may not fit into it, but it's always figuring out what you're looking for help for and how you're looking for that help. Because that how can actually make or break a relationship with someone that you're hiring to help you in your business. Because if it's not what you need at that time, it might not work out. And then, you may have spent some money that doesn't work for your business. So really just kind of want to leave it out as, like I said, I have a blog post on it. If you're curious, right, please check out my website, or right, I'll send you the link. I'm happy to do that. But it really is, no matter what somebody calls themselves, right? I call myself a strategist, but I could just as easily call myself a coach, but it doesn't feel aligned with what I do. I'm absolutely there to guide people, and I will cheer people on and say, hey, here, this was your action steps. I held you accountable. You did it. Fantastic. But at the end of the day, I'm not going to be somebody who is going to, right, just ask you those questions and help you come up with the solution on your own. I'm going to be someone who asks you questions and gives you a solution, gives you an action plan, but make sure that it is really truly in line with your goals and your vision for your business. I don't want to push you to do something that isn't going to feel right. You're going to look at it back and go, ooh, that's not what I wanted. But I could call myself a coach or a strategist. It's just what's in alignment for me is to call myself a strategist. So you, as somebody looking for help, that's what you need to do, is you need to figure out, do you need somebody who is more of that cheerleader and the guide, or do you need somebody who's a little bit more direct, who's actually going to sit there and go, hey, this is what you need to do. So just some food for thought, as it said, it's been on my mind as I've been going through, right, some transitions in my business with my rebrand, and just looking at different things, and also discussing with clients different things where people are sort of going, this is what I need, this is what I don't need, right? So just, again, food for thought. Talk to somebody that you're looking at hiring, but before you do that, really do figure out where you need help in your business, but also how you need that help. If you have any questions about any of this, like always, right, feel free to comment or reach out to me in messaging, or you can find my email address. I'm always happy to have a conversation.